overdue. We'll show it later. Fantastic.
Beautiful. So, Michael, we talked about the seminar that you're hosting in Amsterdam, um, 5, 6, 7th of June. And we said it would be wise to have an introductory talk. So that's this webinar. So if you can introduce yourselves and how you came to Shiatsu, maybe that's a nice story. And then talk a little bit about what the seminar is going to be about. It's the protective patterns of trauma, level 1. And yeah, maybe good to say you're recording. So if people do not want to be with their face on the recording, maybe turn off your camera. And then we will also have time for questions.
Please,
So,
yeah. I love
yeah.
questions.
Michael, if you could introduce yourself. Some people you know already, some people are unfamiliar with what you do, where you're from, how you found Shiatsu. So if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Well, before I get into me, I just want to acknowledge you, Yvonne, and thank you for the invitation and your interest in sharing my work in your beautiful country, which I've been to as a 18 and 19-year-old. So I look forward to come back to Holland.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Thank you, ladies, sisters, for giving me your time. I honor that. So thank you for so much for showing up and being interested in what I do. So I want to acknowledge that first. And I also want to acknowledge the times that we live in a little bit.
Mm.
Like we as a collective live in an uncertain time more than ever, and we all feel it. I'm sure you do. Your clients feel it, your family members are feeling it. And I believe more than ever this work is necessary and we are necessary. So I want to acknowledge that too. Thinking well, my name is Mikhail. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I've had quite the life journey, and I've had a lot of time to reflect on it in the last few days because I'm turning 50 tomorrow. And as this interview was coming about, I did a little meditation and I was reflecting on my journey as a shiatsu therapist because it's a quarter of a century now. It's 25 years. And wow, what a goddamn journey it's been. It's sometimes it feels like well, right now I feel like I'm on the top of a mountain. I don't know if any of you climbed very tall mountains, but it feels like I'm on the top of a mountain. It's very quiet. I have a viewpoint of where I came from, and I look at all the steps that I had to take, and I was getting quite emotional actually. Because I remember myself as a 25-year-old actually being on top of a mountain in the Himalayas, having a quiet, intense experience because 25 years ago marked the day that I was reborn in a way because I had to go through my own healing journey. And the metaphor of climbing the Himalaya was climbing my own traumas. And 6 months later, after that Himalayan experience, I found Shiatsu. I actually found Shiatsu on the way down from that climb. It was really a life and death experience. I'm not going to get into the whole story, but I was in a lot of pain when I came back down. And I went to the city square where there was a lot of Tibetan monks, and I thought I'll find some kind of a monk or some kind of a treatment to help my pain. And there was a big, huge bulletin board, lots of posters, and there was this one poster that stood up, and it was a map a strange map of the human body with all kinds of lines, and it was called Shiatsu. And I came closer, and there was a piece of paper scrolled and taped on the poster. I untaped it, opened it up. It was like a treasure map. X marks the spot. Here's the way. Here are the instructions. Find this person that does this strange things on the lines of the body. And I thought I just climbed the Himalayas. This is just part of the adventure. I'll just follow the instructions, and I go through the valley and around the alley and find this little house and knock on the door, and this little fella comes. I'm not a tall man, and this man was shorter than me by this much. And he looks at me up and down, and he just starts to laugh at me hilariously. And he had that infectious laugh. He had white teeth, brown skin, white pants, white shirt, and he's just laughing at me, and he made me laugh. And we shared the laugh together. One of those belly laughs that is uncontrollable, and then he got all serious, and he goes, "I know exactly where you're from, where you moved to, and what languages you speak." I said, "Nobody knows that." And he told me where I was born, that I moved to the Middle East, to Israel, and then I came to Canada. And my jaw dropped, and I said, "How did you know all of that?" And he goes, "Something that I'll never forget." He goes, "The Shiatsu master knows everything about you in 5 minutes." And I said, "Can I get a session with you?" And he said, "Not today, come tomorrow." And tomorrow came, I hesitated, questioned, and I decided not to go. And fast forward 6 months later, I was back in Vancouver from that rebirth of a trip that I gave myself. And I discovered that my purpose was to help others that were like me, had to go through a lot of pain and suffering. And through a process of elimination and a little bit of luck, I discovered Shiatsu, and my hair stood up because Shiatsu, oh my God, the man in the Himalayas, he knew everything about me, 5 minutes, the map, and da 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 da. I remember shaking and picking up the phone, and the program director answered the phone. I said, "Just sign me up. Just sign me. You have to come for it. Just sign me up. Just sign me up." I didn't want to hesitate again. I just wanted to go for it, and enrolling into the program was like finding my home. So it allowed all my gifts to come out, and it gave a template and a language for me to express myself in the most honest and elevated way. So that's my story.
That's quite a story, Michael. I
Mm.
love it. Mm. So you've been working with trauma for a long time, it seems to me.
Yeah,
Um,
initially not on purpose, not intentional. I didn't think I was right away going to work with trauma, but working with trauma is like joining a mafia. Once you start to work with it, you can't leave. And many times I try to leave or not wanting to work with it. I want to work with athletes. It was so easy, there's such good patience, and your ego gets so elevated working with athletes. They respond so quickly to what you do. And then I wanted to work with celebrities, and every time that I wanted to do something outside of working with trauma, clients will come in and just will trust me to help them, and then they would reveal their stories to me. So that was the first 10 years of my practice. I thought those clients were just coming to see me because of me. I was so wrapped up in myself. Oh, I'm attracting those people. The law of attraction. You attract what you are. So therefore, I'm attracting those people, and I can't run away from it. I've tried. Um, but then when I started to look at statistics, my mind blew because the whole concept of coming to a country like Canada, my family immigrated to Canada and myself at 1989, is because it's safe. That's the biggest reason. But what the numbers revealed was that actually Canada was leading the world in post-traumatic stress disorder. And there was so much trauma in Canada, but nobody was speaking about it. This is, 15 years ago. Nobody spoke about trauma as much as they do these days. So then my mind blew up. Like I'm like, wow, everybody's traumatized. So it's not just me that attracting all these clients. It's just everybody's traumatized. Nobody's speaking about it. And once I saw that, I felt in a way, I don't know what it was, but I felt a tap on my shoulder. Well, go do something about it. And I decided to open an integrative center and to work with trauma in an integrated way, which was not heard of back then.
Mm.
Yeah, and a lot of people question what I was doing. Like, who are you? What is shiatsu therapy? Why are you opening a clinic for trauma? What degrees do you have? Yeah, and every I brought all the therapies to work with me. I brought the psychotherapies and the hypnotherapists and TCM doctors and naturopathic doctors, nutritionists. I've had quite a collection of modalities, and I was really a believer in working in an integrated way with it, and in a way a visionary that's the way to do it, and we had to create a in a way a methodology and approach to work with complex trauma, and we did it for years, and
Mm.
that was my university, and I was the one that had to manage all the cases, and I had to choose the therapist, and they also had to learn because what in naturopathic medicine back then, how do you work with trauma? Well, we can work with it biochemically, right? Well, the hypnotherapist will go subconsciously, TCM perspective of what's going on with the pulses and what's going on in TCM perspective. And I was sitting with them and what's the psychology there? What's the perspective? What's the story?
Mm.
What do you do nutritionally? So that was my university, and I learned a lot. Yeah.
So you developed your own method of treating trauma?
Yeah, which I call now neuropath reset method because being a shiatsu therapist, there were limits. Man, that's what I kept on encountering is the limits. Now, the foundational pieces are always there, which is presence, quality of touch, which a shiatsu therapist, that's why I'm so, if you can hear me, so passionate about it because I believe in shiatsu so much, and I wanna bring shiatsu to the map of trauma to that recognition because we have certain fundamentals that a lot of therapists don't, and that's that quality of touch, that sensitivity, the use of intuition, how to develop your senses when you work with trauma, energy work, which is important too, and empathetic presence. So those are really the foundations of working with trauma for me,
Mm.
but theoretically, the application of shiatsu when it came to working with many types of traumas, I found limits. And at some point, I had to actually abandon the theory, the meridians, and kind of discover a different way. And eventually, I came back to shiatsu and integrated all of it and created again what I call neuropath reset method, which is one of the differences is in shiatsu therapy. We are taught, I don't know about all of you ladies here, but we are taught to start with an AHARA assessment. That's how you start your treatment. You listen to the client, they lie down, you start with a AHARA assessment, or They lie down, face down, you start working directly on the patient. I discovered that those two things will not, what's the word that I'm looking for? Will actually counter, that were not appropriate a lot of the time, especially working with trauma clients. Working, even touching someone's abdomen right at the beginning of a session when they first come to you will do more harm than good. Or working on someone's right away physically facing down will do more harm than good because a lot of people with trauma, they disassociate,
mm,
right? Uh, they just go away. And then they'll tell us, how great our treatment was. With in reality, they will just disappear. Uh, so for me, the focus is really about establishing trust, especially working with people's protective patterns, and that's what I discovered. That's why the first module that I teach is really about being cognizant and aware that we all have our own protective patterns, and they are expressed in different ways depending on our personality, circumstances, and our traumas. But there are there is a pattern within each person that is identical, and that is the physiological neurological aspect of the patterns. It's identical to every person no matter what trauma they've been through. So we introduced that concept in the first module, recognizing what are the protective patterns, and also being a little more courageous and involving the our clients in the work. That is so essential. Instead of just doing something to them,
mm.
is working with them consciously, mindfully, with
I love
a
that.
lot of awareness. Yeah. So that's a key. It's having that cooperation. Otherwise, nothing heals.
Mm,
You know. I always say to people that come to me, I'm not a healer. I'm just going to teach you to become your own. That's the work. And yeah, the complexities of today's world, the complexities of trauma requires a container that is defined by embodying trust, clarity, clear communication, responsibility and accountability, and uh, and coaching. A lot of a lot of the work that I do, a big part of it is coaching too.
mm,
Coaching within the hands-on treatment, even like because every time you encounter resistance, and resistance is what we always work with. If we know it or don't know it, we always work with resistance, conscious or unconscious.
mhm.
Because I always people come to me, after they do the pain, I call it the pain circuit, the trauma circuit, and they go from one therapist to another therapist to another therapist to another therapist, and sometimes they find us Shiatsu therapists. We are like the last hope sometimes.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's usually who I get. And so they always come to me and they're quite concerned because they've tried many things. And they say, and some of them, would bring on their file, they keep records, photocopies, and sometimes it's like a booklet that they bring with them in a suitcase in a nice bag. And and we go through it, and then they ask me, so what do you think? You think you can help me?
Mm,
And I said, yeah, no problem. Absolutely, I don't see any problems except one. And they said, what's the problem? I said, the problem is you. That's the problem. So as long as you get out of our way, then we'll have no problems. And then it's just like, how do we do that, right? Because I know now, being an experienced therapist, that a complex client, someone who has carried trauma for long periods of time, will resist, self-sabotage, lie, distort, exaggerate, and I have a whole list of what to expect, right? So knowing that this is what I'm against in a way, this is a typical client, you have to again have them buy in and have them responsible and accountable into this work, and it can be done even when someone is completely in a shock state. Sometimes it's okay. I tell them up front, like, I can see that you're very tired from holding this trauma and from your battles and your wars with it. I understand. And I can see that you are sitting by a fire and there's darkness all around you and you're just tired to walk one more step. I can see that. And sometimes that's how they come to us. They just come to us from the fatigue of trying to change things. Because the inner battle is fatiguing.
Mm.
The management of our armors and our protective patterns comes at a cost, and eventually they break down. So I like using metaphors, and that's one of the metaphors is they come to us, they're sitting by a fire, they're afraid to leave the fire because it's the only thing that sustains them. Right? And they know that they have to march forward, but they can't see the way because now darkness is coming.
Mm.
So sometimes I say, I can see you there. I'll sit with you and I'll nourish you and I'll make the fire brighter. And once you feel like you're stronger, but we're gonna have to start walking at some point, moving forward. And sometimes that acknowledgement alone, wow, you could see the spark of hope because we all have two needs that we carry, and if they're not recognized, then it causes all of our pain, and that's to be seen and understood. And that's in a way what we do with our touch, with our Shiatsu touch. How I see you there inside. Inside I see you, not what your pain is built. And I recognize you. I understand. Not intellectually, but I get it. And if you can transmit that to those people, that's everything. That's the buy-in. That's the relationship. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, what are you gonna teach us all this in 3 days?
Yes. Yes. It's quite the ride. And Mira and Trace and Talitha, who've been to that first workshop, they can attest it's quite a ride. And it's a journey, it's a voyage. And it's what I've discovered for now, sharing this work throughout, that you therapists need it more than anyone.
Or just people, eh?
Even more than people, because I'll tell you why. Because I worked, again, I'm in the field for 25 years and I've worked with different organizations and frontline workers, and being exposed to trauma, being exposed to people that need healing. If you don't have certain things in place as a therapist, you will get hurt. I don't care who you are, if you're a master of 40 years or 50 years, I don't care how many years of experience you have, you will get affected and hurt. That's just a matter of fact, a matter of being a human, you know. And a big part of not being hurt is accepting that fact that I'm just a humble person and that if I don't have certain things put in place, self-care, support, allowing others to see me honestly. That's when people ask me, well, what do you do to take care of yourself, Mikhail? So I always joke, I have this special meditation that I learned in Tibet and this breath work that comes with it, and a special chant and some mudras. And then I have a special incense and a bell that you ring, and that's how I do it. But in reality, that's all a farce because the best self-care method or tool that I found is to reveal yourself honestly to other people, and other people can see you honestly.
mm,
And as therapists, it's a must. We must be in that practice where we allow ourselves to be seen and to be understood, not just to see and understand others. One of the protective mechanism of a therapist is becoming a therapist. If I'm a therapist, I'll be safe on this side, right? If I'm a therapist, I'm safe here, right? So we have to be careful of that, and we can get trapped and we can go on 20, 30 years in that position and it will do us some harm. And I see that throughout wherever I go, no matter where. So a big part of the work of the workshop is for the therapist to allow themselves to be seen and understood and to allow themselves to let go and heal.
mm.
Because how would your clients trust you? Because let me tell you something about trauma clients. They are just as intuitive as you are, if not more, some of them. And if you're thinking that you're assessing them, you've been fooled. Because in reality, you're being assessed from the moment they walk in. You are being interviewed. You're being tested. So if they smell, see, and understand and in tune that you are not doing the work, they won't trust you. They just won't. They won't let go. They won't reveal the deepest pain. They won't allow themselves to break down. They won't. They won't grow.
Mm.
Yeah, because you ask them, you in a way, what we ask those people is to go and walk through their valley of darkness. So why would they trust you? Just because you have a diploma, you know? So, that self-work and self-responsibility as a therapist, therapists need more than even that. I don't know about you, but I'm getting an influx of clients that work as doctors, psychiatrists, and they are just falling apart. Nurses falling apart. I don't know what's going on in Holland, but in Canada, the healthcare system is falling apart, and the people that work in it are falling apart.
We have the same in the Netherlands. There's a huge like burnout and overworked. There's a lot of aggression also against um, nurses and doctors. So that is taking its toll
Yes,
also. Mm.
yes, yes. I mean, so this is where we step up, step up as therapists, not only to support, the public population, but your opportunities here to support also frontline workers and medical people. I mean, that's why I'm so passionate about this work because, again, we are needed more than ever. And if you put a shingle or if you start to announce that you as a Shiatsu therapist now also acquire the tools to work with trauma, you will see your doors blow wide open and people will come from left and right. because
mm,
people need it. They're looking. They're all around you. They're looking for you. You don't know that they're looking for you.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. So let's open up the floor. If you can raise your hand, you do that. There's three dots at the bottom of your screen. And if you press those three dots, you can see the possibility to raise your hand. So if you have a question or comment, just raise your hand, and so then we don't speak all at the same time. I think there's quite some Finnish people here too, right? You're going to Finland also, Michael,
Yeah,
no?
I'm gonna be in first in Lucerne, Switzerland, then Amsterdam, then Helsinki.
Ah, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful.
At
Yeah.
first, I'm going to the Amazon. I'm really excited about doing work in the Amazon in a retreat place in March, and then I'm also doing a summit in New York. Yeah. So
Teaching
let's hear
also
some.
about
Yeah,
trauma.
yeah. Also about trauma. Yeah, yeah. Let's hear some questions. Anybody has any
Mm,
questions, comments? Maybe you want to share a case study or what you see in your practice. Yeah,
Sure.
go ahead, Khalid.
Hi,
Is it
Mihail. Hi,
Khalid?
everyone. Nice to join you here on this occasion. It's really great to hear you talk about the trauma and everyone else sharing it. So yeah, I was listening to your. I don't have really a question, but I was listening to your experiences with the clients, and there were parts I was laughing because I could recognize myself, especially with the case. I remember I had a client come in with all the medical results and all the doctors she went through, and often find myself also as the last resort. They've been through everything, they tried everything, and you're here. You have so much pressure now, and you try to pretend you don't have that pressure. Okay, everything's all right. We're gonna take care. And that dreadful question: Can you fix my I don't know, sciatica, or I have this and that. I have a I have a client. She came spondylitis.
Spondylitis. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, first time I hear.
Ankylosing spondylitis. Yeah, terrible condition. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, terrible condition, but she was very happy and she will come back. I was very happy with the result.
good.
But when she came, she's a cardiologist, okay, so a doctor,
Oh
and
yeah, so much pressure. You gotta roll up the sleeves now, sharpen the thumbs.
and she was like, "You don't know what is a spondylolisthesis? Chinese medicine, we look at things differently. Just tell me about your symptoms, what pain you have, and I try to." Uh, so, um, so I could just recognize myself in what you and the traumas. Yes, these last years I was very active in Shiatsu, and I've seen so many pain, so many people in pain. Also, I can really relate to what you're saying. I live in Tunisia,
Yeah,
and I've seen the same things. The aggression against doctors, we have the same here. Burnouts also in the medical. A lot of people from doctors open to shiatsu and alternative medicine, more and more coming
mm.
from the clinician world.
because they're getting desperate, Khalid.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, they have no choice. They want to be touched. Yeah, yeah. They need shiatsu. I mean, everybody needs shiatsu. But like as I said in the beginning, we live in a collective trauma, and we're being re-traumatized, and it's more palpable than ever. Yeah. Thanks, Khalid, for sharing. Now, those people with the suitcase, those are the tricky ones, right? When they come and they have all their files. It's somebody that it reminds me when you come to a court of law, you bring all the evidence, right? So I always use that metaphor. In your court of law, you absolutely are right,
Yes.
but it's not helping you, is it?
We had a very rare, we, because we are the last resort, we often end up with very rare
Complex conditions, yeah,
conditions. Yes, yes. She had this syndrome of a Turkish guy. It has the name of a Turkish, uh, very rare. Some, not, I had really rare cases here. I had really some very funky conditions. I had of many cry. don't know about you, everyone here, if you have that. Many weep,
yeah,
start crying sometimes
yeah,
all the session. You touch a specific point in the body, and
yeah.
if the release of emotion, it's like flows like a torrent. Uh, yes, a pain, bodies that are very rigid, like blocks, you know. And then you're like, okay, you scratch your head. Where shall I start? What can
Mm,
I do to be able to put some flexibility in this big
That's
block of yeah.
those type of clients specifically why I designed the this work for. And in the force module, the protective patterns, you start to unlock those patterns in a way that proves to them that it's quite easy. It has to be easy. You reinforcing through the body, having them experience it consciously while you're describing to them exactly what's going to be done and why, and then the effect is so important to in a way reciprocate because you have to build just like they bring that case of files of all the things that they tried and you have to start building new evidence that change can happen with ease. You have to reinforce it through the body and hence through the subconscious repeatedly that change can happen with ease. This chronic tension can go away with ease. You can relax with ease. You can let go with ease. This pain will go away with ease.
mm,
And the more frequently, that's why they have to be a part of it. Otherwise, if you are working on them, you're overriding their protective patterns. So the body will reinforce more, even though they're releasing in the way that you're experiencing it, the protective patterns will come back. And
Yes.
sometimes much worse.
Yeah,
Sometimes
if I
much
may
worse.
interrupt you, if
Yeah.
I may, if I may interrupt you, you're saying something very relevant, but I don't know if it's you're talking about the same thing. I don't know if you notice sometimes you work on the neck, for instance,
Mm.
or you try to relax it, so it melts down, and then whoop, it tightens up again, like it gets tightened up again. Okay, you work, it relaxes, and then you wonder if these are the traumatic patterns that, or maybe she's in her head, and then there's a negative thought that comes,
No,
or
it's just
a response, or
the part of the brain that automates the nervous system. If you don't switch that part of the brain off, it just goes into autopilot. It just will recreate the patterns. And that's why you consciously have to do it, and they have to do it with you. It's like if you that's why working with the nervous system is so magical in a way, because when you do it with the client, it's like going to the hard drive and starting to turn the switches off, right? And then it's just a matter the more you do it, the more frequently you do it, the more they start to do it too. the pattern changes, the state of the person changes with it, and then it's about creating new patterns also at some point, consciously creating new patterns, right?
Mm.
But with the protective patterns, initially, the first module is all about having them experience how easy it is to create change.
Can I say something to that?
Yes.
Because yesterday I had a great example of right exactly that, because I had a client that was referred to me by the hospital with severe depression, severe trauma, childhood trauma, and she was completely stuck. And she was very reactive. So she was angry with everybody. And she was actually really scary because, but again, I've been to two of your modules and I was sort of warned to what to expect. So I was like, okay, I'm not seeing you here. I'm seeing a protection. So I worked with her and she had been to all kinds of doctors. I mean, she's going everywhere. She's clinging to everything that she can to get better and nothing's happening. I mean, she's also very much in the victim role. So she's accusing everybody and then she's a victim. And I worked with her. It was the first time. And I did part of the sequence of the first module. I did not do the whole sequence. It was the first time, so I did only the upper button because
Yeah.
also that was where she has so much pain and Globe was feeling. I don't know if I'm saying that right in English, but that she feels like she's choking. And she was very responsive to it. And then we finished, and she sat up and she said, "I'm feeling so light."
Mm.
And I said to her, yes, you really can have a lighter life. It's all there inside of you, you know? And
Bingo.
she was
Bingo.
so amazed. And she went home and she said, normally that would have been a nightmare to go even through the town, you know? And I said, but I could stay with that. So that was really an example of her really experiencing
Yeah.
that it is possible. And I was really
Yes.
happy about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the key. Thank you for sharing that, you know. And that's why you would see frequently. Yeah, once you implement those tools in our first workshop, your whole work will change.
Yeah. And it's
Everything
not
starts to change.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not only about the tools that you teach, because what for me was also very important is because what you encourage a lot is that you really work from your intuition and that linked to, yeah, well, the spiritual world, and that you can really use that. Because I remember laying my hands on her yesterday on her back, and I could instantly feel why she was having that protective pattern. And maybe I would have felt that before, but I wouldn't have trusted it. So that's really one of the most important things that I learned from you, to really trust what is coming to you through the hands, through the body.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, intuition is, I think, I don't think, I believe, is the number one most effective tool you can use working with trauma. It's necessary. It's actually a prerequisite. You know, when I used to hire all these therapists and interview, I could write a book about interviewing therapists. It's quite it's quite the funny experience. But the one requisite that I had, are they intuitive?
Mm.
I didn't care how many years. Initially, when I started the clinic, I hired the most experienced therapists. Then, in a matter of months, I realized what a mistake I made, because oftentimes with a lot of experienced therapists, there's a lot of really bad habits that are just not acceptable when it comes to working with trauma. So I erased that prerequisite. I said, I want the most intuitive therapist. And then that's how I would interview them and figure out, are they intuitive? Is it expressed through the hands, through the method that they've learned, or through their mouth, or through the way that they're practicing the therapy that they learn? And if it was, then they were part of the team. And yeah, intuition has to be there because you have to see the and feel and in tune what's underneath everything constantly. And like I said, oftentimes trauma clients are very intuitive or sensitive themselves, and some of them call themselves an empath, and some of you might call yourself an empath. And that's part of, actually, that's a big part of their pain because a lot of the pain that they carry is not even theirs.
Mm.
And if you're an empath, you don't even have boundaries. You think you might have boundaries, but you don't. So I rather turn a very sensitive person to an intuitive person. And when you are intuitive, you also have boundaries where you can discern what you experience and you can discern what's yours and what's not yours. And once you're in the practice of that, then you can use that intuition to detect, the past, the present, and possibly the future too.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a must and something that I emphasize in my work. Something that it's touched in every module, but in particular when we also I did a retreat in Montpellier in the south of France, and it's the third module is a 5-day intensive, and it's all about the intuitive heart. And there you go deep into intuition development, and you look at the different aspects of self and more into the shamanic aspect of our work. One of the reasons Shiatsu felt like a home because the theory, the template that we are given, it's a template of a channeler. We channel. In Shiatsu, we all are channelers. I mean, we are taught with our posture, we're taught to connect to our heart is to channel energy and to be a channel. Now, if we consciously continue to work on it and develop it, then you are enabling you're not working as hard, first of all. You're enabling the support that can come from the spiritual or from their spirit, and from the spiritual, their ancestors. I can tell you 1,000 experiences that have shown me that's what happens when you work with trauma. When you work with trauma, you are touching their lineage. And if all of you look above you right now, all your ancestors, in a way, are watching you on the balconies of wherever they are. And the fact that you're interested in trauma is touching that web. So they're always there,
Mm.
and they're waiting. Is this person fine? Is this? Are you finally going to heal? Because we need some of it upstairs here. Because a lot of our pain, a lot of our traumas, and Khalid, the diseases that manifest, they could and most likely are not even ours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like most of you, if you know it or don't know it, carry a bag of potatoes and it weighs about 100 pounds. So just imagine that if you went outside from where you live and suddenly you see you walking across the street and you carrying a bag of potatoes and you're feeling anxious and your back hurts and some of us develop ankylosing spondylitis and we have headaches and migraines and we feel the weight and we feel the age and we feel the time and we're thinking, what the hell is going on? How long can I carry this bag of potatoes? right? Look at me carrying that bag of potatoes. Now, what if Mikhail told you, Mikhail is just proposing something, maybe it's not true. What if he told you that none of the potatoes are yours? Then what would you say?
Yeah, like beliefs, some assumption beliefs, wrong beliefs that yeah, that do not belong to us also, and that
Yeah, a lot of us and a lot of the people that kept to see you, they carry those potatoes and none of them are theirs. So then if you think about it, and you think about it, and the more you think about it, there'll be some very interesting questions. And
Is
away
that
when
touching on constellation work?
I don't use fancy terms like that. It's just touching on the web of their lineage, touching on the
Mm,
web of life, touching on intergenerational trauma, right?
mm,
And whenever you are touching it, you are touching the ancestors.
mm,
And that's a big part of introducing that in the second and third module, but even in the first module. A big part of the work is how to release the pain that is not yours. It's just not yours. And what would I feel like if I release all those potatoes? Some of them say I'll eat them, right? I'll, I'll mash them. But many of them say, what? None of them are mine. Then why the hell am I carrying them for? Good question.
May I say something as well?
Yeah.
I had my hand up and nobody
Oh,
was saying anything.
sorry.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
couldn't
no
see that.
problem.
oh, sorry, it
Um,
didn't show.
oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what. Well, anyway, but what Talitha and both Khaled were saying about this kind of like people come and they're very sick and they have probably a lot of diagnoses, but those diagnoses are not really them. So what you're saying to me, and this is also part of uh, like what I've done in my previous training in Seiki, for example. So it is that like in healthcare in Finland, at least, I don't know how it is in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, but often like when you go to see a doctor, they're just interested in giving you a diagnosis. They're not really treating you. They might give medication, they might do an operation, they might do something or send you to somewhere, but it's not like the healthcare is very not people oriented in a way because it's not really seeing you, it's seeing like the diagnosis, the problem
Exactly. Exactly.
that
Yeah.
you have. And in Seiki, it is like you say, like it's seeing who the person is, the what is the truth, and not seeing all those potatoes. um, so yeah, that kind of really resonates with me.
Yeah. You as the therapist, I will say you have to see two people in front of you, and uh, and you develop that ability to always see two people. So when somebody comes to my room, I see two of them. I see what their pain is built, and I see who they are. That's one of my gifts is to see that. And we all have that ability, and the more you develop those lenses, the more you can see, right? And you can see in such a way that eventually, actually, in my work, I use mirrors a lot. Look at the mirror. What do you see? Look at this posture. This is why you hold yourself that way. This is what happened to you here. This is what happened to you there. Like the fella yesterday, I put him in front of the mirror. No, it was a lady, and she said, my posture is really bad. Have you heard that from a client before saying, my posture is really bad? Have you heard that? And I always say, well, that's very interesting. Why do you think your posture is very bad? Well, my shoulders are like this, and I've always been told, and da 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 da. And I said, well, have you thought about the possibility that you are bad to your posture? The posture is never bad. We we are bad to ourselves, right? And and she's studying psychology. She's gonna be a psychologist. She started to laugh. She goes, "There's some truth to that." I said, "Well, why your posture is bad, and why the shoulders are like this, and what are you bad to? Because the posture is not bad. You're just bad to your posture. So, what specifically in the body that you're bad to? Which I don't like that word, bad, good, but that was her word. And then she thought about it. She thought my neck. I said no. And my throat, no. My heart? Ah, maybe. And then she went into a story of how what was going on recently. But using mirrors is always very good because you can use the mirror to change the state that they're in. You can offer them a different operative system. I like that word, an operative system, you know, because the pain body, like Khalid says, or I call it the pain story, it will create a pain story, and with it comes architecture. And within that architecture, there's an operative system. And it maybe helped them survive their traumas and help them get through their traumas. And at some point, it was even successful, this operative system. But then it started to create pain and it started to create anxiety and all the symptoms that they come with. And eventually, this operative system is like a prison. So when you introduce a different operative system, a different option, it can be a game changer. And when they can see it, feel it, and experience it, and then repeat it with you over and over again, suddenly they start to build with you and by themselves this operative system that feels much better, gives them much more power, more control, more ease. It makes them look beautiful. It opens them up to the world. The world is open to them. It's a game changer. So I love using mirrors. You know, it's really important to show, yeah, to show the changes, to show the possibilities, and most importantly, to feel it and not to fake it. Make it real and make it easy. Yeah. Thank you, Mira, for that feedback. Maybe we have one more and we can wrap it up.
So somehow, when Mira raised their hand, I wasn't able to see it. So if you have your hand raised, my apologies. It doesn't come up on the screen. So just unmute yourself and start speaking.
Thank you.
Michael, since you started working on this, on the trauma, what have you learned on yourself, about yourself?
Well, what have I learned about myself? Well, everything. That's why I don't have teachers. Yeah. I have everything that I'm gonna share with you and everything that I'm sharing with you, even my tone of voice and the way I transmit it is all because of the clients that have come to see me. And they were the mirrors to me. That's why the concept of being comfortable with the most uncomfortable, it's the practice that our clients introduce to us. It's a practice that they say, here's a practice that will help you grow, Khalid. would you accept this practice with me? Would you accept my rage? Would you accept my terror? Would you accept my shadow, my darkness? Would you take my hate? Would you take my shame? Not just take it because you're a therapist and you're working by the hour and you need to, make money. But it's an opportunity to look at all those aspects that are within us, right? It's the ultimate practice. We don't grow without others. We just don't. And we are blinded if others don't give us mirrors, and trauma gives you very strong mirrors. Yeah. So everything that my clients brought me, I had to digest, assimilate, think about, contemplate within me. Sometimes it feels like your clients maybe already have that experience. You're going through something, and all of a sudden, a client is presenting you the thing that you're going through. And you feel naked in front of them because you feel like that maybe the psychic is somehow have a hidden camera in your life because you feel that they're speaking exactly about what the hell you're going through. And all of a sudden, like, what? Yeah. So that's a way, an answer to your question. I've learned so much. Everything that I am is because of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you so much for your presence, all. Wonderful company. And thank you, Michael, for answering the questions and presenting yourself and talking about the course that will be upcoming in Amsterdam and I guess also in Helsinki. So, wishing you a most beautiful evening for the
Yeah.
rest and for you a most beautiful day, Michael.
Thank you very
And
much. Yeah. Thank you.
thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for
Hope to see
showing
you in
up.
Holland.
You.
Bye.